Hello, everybody, and welcome to Marketplace Impact, a national conversation on social procurement. I'm Elizabeth Blount, and on behalf of the Bisocial Canada team, I'm so glad to welcome so many of you. I can see the numbers rising at the top. So happy to welcome so many of you to our conversation today. Before jumping into what the next 2 hours are going to look like, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that I'm joining you today from the unceded ancestral traditional territories of the Statliam Nation. And we have folks joining us today from all over the country and potentially beyond. And I invite each of you to take a moment to reflect on where it is that you're joining us from today and what that means for you in terms of repairing and reconciling relations with Indigenous people locally and globally. And if you've been able to find the chat in the right-hand side, I invite you to share where it is that you're joining us from today and any reflections that you have on this. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that we have people joining us with a huge variety of lived experiences today. And I want to thank you in advance for bringing that experience and those perspectives to this space with us. And I also, again, want to take a moment to acknowledge that and to acknowledge that the conversations that we have, both through the panels and in our breakout discussions, will impact us all differently based on those lived experiences. And so, again, I invite you to be aware of that both for yourself and the folks that you speak with in the conversations today. Because we do want today to be a space for participation and engagement and conversation. And so part of that is the reason that we chose the Airmeet platform, which is really made to allow us to have all of these conversations together. And I want to thank our sponsor, Shandos, for your support of this event and for allowing us to use this platform. And I'll just spend 2 minutes for those of us that Airmeet is new for, just giving a quick tour of what the platform looks like. So if you're looking at your screen in the top right panel, you'll see people. If you click there, you can see everybody that's here joining us today. And if you click onto that person, you can send them a message. So that'll be a direct message between the two of you, maybe to chat, to meet at a table or share details with each other. If you click messages to the right of that, you'll be able to see any direct messages that folks have sent you. And if you go furthest over, you'll see your name, and that's your profile. And if you go there, you can change your profile picture. You can add any details that you'd like to. And if you need to change any of your audio or video settings, you can go there to do that as well. Down the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see two little bubbles, and that's the chat. And I can see folks already sharing in the chat there as well. So invite you to use that actively today, and everybody can see that. So everybody can engage with you through that chat section. And directly below that is the Q&A. So that's the question and answer. And you can put questions in there for the panelists during our sessions. And you can also upvote them. So if there's others questions that you'd like to flag for the panelists, you can give that an upvote to push it up the list. Finally, if you are having any challenges with the platform today, when you've got that chat open, you'll see a little purple circle with a question mark, and you can click on that for support from Airmeet. And if you go up to people, again, back up at the top, and search for Emma, Emma's name there is on the screen for us. If you search Emma from the Bisocial Canada team, she is the go-to help for anything related to any tech issues that you're having today. Don't look for me, because beyond this, I'm no help. So as well as the platform itself, outside of these sessions, we'll be breaking out into tables. And some of you might have already tried those out before we started today. But that's really one of the key goals for today, is to give us all a chance and a space to speak together and spend time together. So we strongly encourage you to use those tables if you're comfortable doing that. And you can click on any of those tables to join. If you're having trouble with it, it might be that the table is full. We've limited them to 6. And so if you can't join one table, find a table with an empty spot and click and join there. And just as you would in person, we encourage you to move from table to table to meet with as many folks as possible. So after this intro session, we'll be breaking out into 10 minutes of tables to get to know each other. And then between the two sessions today, we'll also have two 15-minute breakout intervals to get to know each other a little bit more and discuss what we chat about at the panels. And we'll also keep the tables open at the end of the event as well, because we always hear folks want to talk more. So getting into today, this is part one of two parts of the national conversation on the social value marketplace. So keep your eyes peeled for the second session, which will focus on social enterprise, coming up in September. But today is focusing on social procurement. And so today we'll be talking about key trends in social procurement, what we're seeing nationally across the country, and what we hope to see continue into the future as well. And we'll also be celebrating what we've all achieved together over the last year and beyond. So, Tori, maybe I'll welcome you up to kick us off so we can get into today and start talking about some of this. So, joining me is Tori Williamson, Director of Education and Consulting. Hi, Tori.
Hi, Liz.
And so to get us started, to get kind of conversation flowing as we go into some of the panels and the breakout rooms today, I'm wondering if you can kick us off with, from your experience working across the country with a range of stakeholders, what are some of the key trends that you're really looking forward to discussing today in social procurement?
I think, and this is something that I mentioned last year at the Biosocial Canada Symposium, and I'm going to keep talking about because I think it's so important, is the growing trend towards increased reporting on social procurement outcomes. And I think it's important because we're doing this not just to do social procurement because we like it, we think it's fun and cool. You like reading trade agreements, maybe not so much for me. We're doing this because we want to make a difference. And I think in order to make a difference, we need to be measuring and reporting. So to me, that's a key trend. Another one that I think is super important is the growing interest in Indigenous procurement. And Biosocial Canada takes a place-based approach when we're working with communities, depending on how they want to structure their social procurement program. So sometimes it's underneath the social procurement umbrella. Sometimes it's kind of Indigenous procurement is separated. No matter what, we're hearing a lot from Indigenous communities and organizations that there needs to be intentional focus on Indigenous socioeconomic reconciliation, and procurement is a great way to do that. So as all organizations and individuals across Canada are working together on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action, I think we're seeing that many organizations trying to figure out what that looks like, engaging with their Indigenous communities in their area and working together to try to create that reconciliation in that way. So those are some of the key things that I'm thinking about and working on. What about you?
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. And I'm so glad you've already got folks thinking about some of those pieces, because I think we're going to be delving deeper into those with the panels today, which I think is going to be really interesting. And I'm really excited to hear what other folks are kind of thinking on those trends. And I think for me, kind of thinking nationally, it's that trend of the movement and momentum behind social procurement as a start, looking at across the country at the federal level of government, the social procurement policy, the community employment benefit initiative. We joke now it's almost easier to name municipalities that aren't exploring social procurement than those that are, being so close to the ground and seeing social procurement as a tool to address so many of the social issues that we're all facing. Sectors, the construction sector, a lot happening in the tourism sector and higher education institutions. And I think for me, it's also this trend of recognizing the interconnectedness of that and the way that we can leverage each other's activities as this momentum grows. So really seeing that, we see folks saying, well, one of the reasons we're doing this is we're responding to a bid and we're being asked how to do this. And as a result of that, we're thinking both about our direct procurement, but we're also now starting to ask our own suppliers, what are you doing? What are you looking at? So I think that chain element of the supply chain and the trend and recognition there is really interesting. And Tori, as well as conversation, we're also celebrating today. So what are you looking to, no spoilers, but for the end session, but what are you really looking to celebrate?
I'm always excited to celebrate stories and stories from contracts. And so I think that storytelling is a big piece of social procurement. It's not all just dollars and cents. We're adding in that human element by definition. So having those stories and sharing what can be possible and what has been achieved, I think is really a fantastic piece to celebrate.
Yeah, so exciting. So much to celebrate, so much to talk about. And with that in mind, I think we'll start to kind of introduce the table so folks can go into their breakout rooms and start to discuss this themselves. So I would encourage all of you now, as we break out into the tables, introduce yourselves. And if you're looking for a prompt, maybe, what are you excited about? What are you excited about to learn, to talk about a little bit more today? But also to celebrate. And feel free to, as well as discussing that on the tables, pop that in the chat as well so that we can all engage that way as well. And we will see you in about 10 minutes after that for our first panel on supplier diversity and verification.
Awesome.
See you all soon.